Many have described Ohio as an apocalyptic landscape, filled with chaos and post-apocalyptic monsters. There are more astronauts from Ohio than any other state in the Union, and that's because the echoes of space are more habitable than this desolate wasteland. I'll be the first to confirm that pitch-perfect analysis of the place that I once called home. Along the highway next to a store called Bargains and Buyouts is this brand new video game store. I'm talking brand spanking new, Retro Revival. By the way, I have to mention Body by Todd, which might be the best branded store I've ever seen in my entire life. Today, me and my dad are going to, just different places. No, I'm not exaggerating when I said this store was like brand new. It's so new that one of the owners was there and he was like, "Hey man, how'd you even know this store existed?" In this case, I just Googled retro game store and this popped up. Apparently they had a giant storage unit where they were grabbing games here and there to sell on eBay and that sort of thing. But they had gotten to the point where the storage unit was costing so much that they were like, you know what, if we're going to be storing these video games anyways, we might as well have a storefront so that we can sell them during the day. Right now I'm going headfirst into an N64 collection and I need so many common games. And I was very glad to see that most of their games, especially the common ones, were around price charting, if not sometimes below price charting. If I'm going to be honest about this N64 collection, I'm trying to get it at a reasonable pace and a reasonable price. That way, I don't overpay on anything. These guys are also very into strategy guides. They've got them all over the place. And hey look, graded games. I'm not a big fan of this trend, but if you are, here they are. This is really cool, but I only tend to pick up VHS when they're like $3. I remember picking this game up at a Meijer for like $15. I understand why it's still only $15. Growing up, the first console I ever bought was a Super Nintendo. I actually still have my Super Nintendo. The video game stores around me never had mega hits like this. I'm gonna leave them here today, but someday I'm gonna pick up a Chrono Trigger. Now this store is still getting its sea legs, but I picked up a bunch of N64. I'm looking forward to how this store grows and develops as time goes on. I picked up 5 N64 games, and that takes me all the way to 127 N64 games. Now a lot has been said about Ohio in the last couple of years, and I'm here to set the record straight. Ohio's a weird place, and I'm originally from there. Hence why I am such a wacky dude. Anyways, I go back there every year around Christmas time to visit family and friends, and I'm going to go to as many video game stores as I can while I'm there. Now, I'm trying to collect as many N64 games as possible, and I'm trying to go to 100 video game stores in total. Now, the name of this series is Flip and Dip. Growing up, Cincinnati used to be a dicey area, and you know what, to be completely honest, I'm not sure if it was ever actually dicey or if I'm just from such a rural part of Ohio that the people I lived with were just scared of the city. Now the name of this game store is Game and Groove. Now the reason it's called Game and Groove is because it's got music and it's got video games, and they've also got like VHS and movies, which is totally rad. This is a Mr. Backup. You can play N64 ROMs off of a floppy disk with this. This whole store has always felt like somebody just built a video game store in their house. Everything from the layout to like most of the shelving appearing to be some sort of like IKEA furniture. And that's my dad. Hey dad, their extensive VHS collection of course has Titanic on VHS. Whoops, let's do a take two. Yep, Titanic on VHS. I don't know what this is, but I should have bought it and hung it on my wall. It's actually kind of rare for me to run into so much Japanese N64 while in Ohio, but I am going to Japan later this year, so I'm gonna hold off. I love you. I know. I'm not so into buying sealed games, however, these are really good prices for sealed NES games. I really do love Wii U. I already have Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I don't have the special edition version. I do leave it here, but a part of me wishes I would have got it. Elf might just be my favorite Christmas movie, so I'm just picking this up because I saw it in theaters like 4 times when it came out. I've never watched the show, but it kind of feels like if Super Smash Bros. Adventure Mode was a show. By the way, they also had an extensive collection of records, and I picked up a few. Over the holidays, I was trying to pick up as many copies of Jingle All the Way as I could find. This was the only other copy I found. Anyways, great store, worth checking out. In a series all about video game collecting, I didn't get a single one, but I did get some pretty neat things. Right next door to Game & Groove is a arcade called Wondercade. I like arcades as much as the next guy, and this is one of those pay and then play as much as you want arcades, which is, some people's thing. Now, a lot of people have the 4-person version of X-Men, but this one right here is the 6-person version. It's crazy. It has 2 CRT monitors. The way that works is one monitor is using a mirror trick, and the other monitor on the right is just kind of sticking back through the back of the arcade cabinet. This thing is a monster. It's so big. I was genuinely surprised by the amount of modern experimental arcade games they had here. They had a copy of a game called Killer Queen here. Now, I was introduced to Killer Queen by a good friend of mine named Eric, and we went to a Chinatown arcade to play this. Now, this game is a 5-on-5 game, which is extremely complicated and also enormous. It's a very unique and indescribable arcade experience, and if you ever get the opportunity to play, you should. One thing I very much appreciated about this arcade was all of the original games here. I'm personally not a huge fan of multicades, which are just like an arcade cabinet with like 100 games on them. I like experiencing arcade cabinets as they were originally made and they were originally intended. And you can do so much of that here, and it's really neat that you can. Now, the people who worked here were really cool, and they were actually just friends with the people from Game & Groove. So 2 solid places, very close to each other. You should go. Florence, Kentucky is where Cincinnati keeps its airport. Other than the airport, Florence is known for a lot of things, especially its mall. This is not that. This is just a little place with a game store called Nostalgic Video Games. I really knew nothing about this store going into it, so I had very, mediocre to low expectations. Now, right off the bat, this game store came swinging hard with a Little Samson. Little Samson is one of the most sought after video games in the NES collecting scene, and $3,000, even though it only has a repro box, is about the going price. It was actually at this point where I goofed up all my filming. I was kind of in a hurry because I was going to pick up my sister at the airport right after this, and I thought that every time I was hitting record, it was recording. Wrong. I was recording nothing, and I was accidentally just recording my pocket and the floor. I eventually figured it out, and it's around this time that I found the Game Gear selection, which is not bad. My brother had a 3DO growing up, so it always made me want one, but I never got one. In addition to all the video games, they had a pretty extensive collection of toys. Specifically, I really liked seeing all of the Power Ranger toys. Some of them gave me a little bit of a pause though, because I was taking a look at them and I couldn't figure out where they were from or what the deal was. Like, this looks like a Power Ranger toy from the 90s, but as I started looking at the characters, I was like, that doesn't look anything like Kimberly. And it's weird that it's just these 4 particular characters. It was just weird and interesting, and I couldn't really figure it out on the back of the toy either. So maybe these were a Canadian version or some sort of worldwide version. I couldn't figure it out. They also had this misprinted Green Ranger, which was pretty neat. It was supposed to be a Red Ranger. In this $5 or less bin, I did find a pretty cool case. It was this 3DS case that had a NES controller on it. Final Fantasy VII Polygon figures for $14. Yes, please. Overall, if I would have done a better job filming, you would have seen that this is one of the better game stores that I've been to in quite a bit. Totally worth going to, especially if you're in the Florence area. And by the way, this sign was gnarly. My dad was really into it, and I also think it's cool. And that makes one more game in the N64 collection. My sister is one of my favorite people in the whole world. When I was a kid, she bought a Game Boy, and when she got tired of that Game Boy, she gave it to me, and around the time she gave me that Game Boy is when Pokemon came out, and it was the perfect time for me to receive a Game Boy. Now, I'm throwing this out there. The rippling effect of all of the video games that my brothers and sisters have passed down to me have probably fueled some of this obsession when it comes to gaming. So if you wonder, why does this guy play as many video games as he does? Blame it on my siblings, all right? Blame it on my family, all right? Now we're going to Hamilton, Ohio to check out the half-price books. I'm going out there today with my sister, her wife, and my wife. Now, the thing is, I don't know if half-price books really counts as a video game store, but you know what? I'm going to count it because I like it. And I want to. Half-price books is one of those stores where I don't know how they really do their pricing. Sometimes it just feels like they're doing their pricing based on mood. Like, all these heavy metal cassette tapes and CDs are super cool, but at the same time, I don't know where like a $50 price tag comes from. Super Mario 3D All-Star is also something that's going up in price, but I don't know if it's worth $100 for me. A lot of my influences about what games I enjoy playing are based solely on what my older siblings and friends were playing. My brother-in-law played Star Control when I was really little, and now I love this game. Now, while I was pointing out some wild prices earlier, I will also say that you can find some underpriced and well-priced games at this store. It's like hanging out with a friend with wild mood swings. You never have any idea what it's going to be like when you get there, but you just keep hanging out with them because when it's good, it's really great. It's kind of interesting to see a VCR DVD combo here. $100 for a Guitar Hero isn't that bad nowadays, especially if it includes the dongle. Strategy guides. Now, there's a couple extra places where they just happen to keep video games here, so I always check like this weird cart, and I'll always ask if they have any games in the back or on the side. I feel like this is a pretty good price for Legend of Mana, and I probably should have picked it up. This reminds me, I've actually been looking for OG Doom in its original DOS case. Now, this is the part of the trip where everybody's been done shopping, but I still keep looking around. These were the extra games they had behind the counter. Now, I only asked to look at these when they are not too busy, and it's good for me I did, because I picked up a couple of games here. Now, at the end of the day, I enjoy going to half-price books, and I stop at them like I stop at GameStops, which is basically all the time. So yeah, if you ever see one, you should stop in and just see what's going on. I may have given this store a lower score, but don't let that dissuade you from going here. It's just, they're not really a video game store. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. The next episodes are already filmed. I'm throwing this out there. I ended up going to Jungle Gyms. If you're from the Ohio area, you already know what that place is, but I could not fit it into this episode. So what I did was broke it off into a little mini episode, and I'll be editing that. And then from there, I'm in the Midwest for a little bit longer, so I did go to some other places, and you'll see where I go. Anyways, as always, if you've got any other places where you'd like me to hit up, let me know. And give me that like, give me that subscribe, and you know what? Share this out. Let the people know about this show. Anyways, you have a wonderful day, and thanks for stopping by. Peace.